For more than 70 years, NATO has relied on one foundational guarantee: the United States will show up in force, providing the troops, the intelligence, and the nuclear umbrella that turn a pact into an integrated warfighting machine. That guarantee is no longer certain. As strategic priorities in Washington shift toward the rivalry in Asia, NATO is increasingly viewed by some as an outdated commitment that ties down resources better used elsewhere. If the United States were to step away, the alliance wouldn't disappear overnight. On paper, the institutions, the commitments, and the member states remain in place, but in practice, the system's vital organs are removed. The first failure is speed. Modern warfare depends on the ability to move supplies across a continent in days. The U.S. provides this through a fleet of roughly 270 heavy aircraft. By contrast, European allies operate just over a dozen in that same class. Without that American logistical core, the alliance is stripped of its ability to deploy at scale. The legal structure survives, but the military machine is instantly paralyzed. Next comes the loss of sight. Europe currently relies on the Pentagon's layers of satellites and surveillance aircraft, like the AWACS, to track movements and identify targets in real time. Without them, intelligence becomes localized and fragmented. The command structure itself would splinter. NATO's integration is built around American leadership and shared platforms. Removing that center leaves a vacuum that individual national systems were never designed to fill at this scale. This creates a crisis of credibility for Article 5. Deterrence is effective only when adversaries perceive a unified and capable response, a perception that evaporates the moment the alliance's primary military driver departs. This weakness invites aggression, not through full-scale invasion, but through gray zone tactics. Adversaries will test the new limits, with cyber operations, political interference, and limited military probes, to see who, if anyone, responds. Europe would not face a sudden conquest, but rather a relentless series of unchecked, low-level aggressions that slowly pick the continent's security apart. By year 10, the financial reality sets in. Replacing conventional U.S. forces requires Europe to spend an estimated $1 trillion over 25 years, covering hundreds of fighter jets, main battle tanks, and a new fleet of submarines. Even if the money is found, the industrial capacity is missing. Europe's production lines have shrunk over decades, leaving shipyards and factories unable to scale up to meet this sudden demand. There are minor exceptions. The French are working to triple their annual fighter jet production by the end of the decade to bridge part of the gap. Turkey also remains an industrial outlier, with dozens of naval vessels, from frigates to submarines, currently under construction simultaneously. Yet for the rest of the continent, the problem is time. It takes decades to rebuild a military-industrial base from scratch, and during those years, Europe remains exposed to constant external coercion. While Europe loses protection, America loses its reach. Forfeiting 40 European bases removes the essential infrastructure projecting power into the Middle East, North Africa, and the Arctic. Without these staging grounds, the U.S. must project power across two immense oceans, thousands of kilometers away. However, the economic blow is equally severe. Over the last decade, roughly 1/3 of American arms exports have gone to Europe, sustaining a significant portion of the U.S. defense manufacturing base. The F-35 program is a prime example. It involves over a dozen European countries, locking them into decades of maintenance and upgrade contracts that would vanish if the alliance dissolved. For Washington, the exit represents a strategic amputation of American global reach and a direct long-term hit to its own domestic defense economy. Fast forward 50 years, and the long-term consequences emerge. In this timeline, Europe has finally overcome its internal friction, resulting in a continent with a unified command and permanent high-level defense spending. This shift reveals the underlying mechanism that governed Western security for nearly a century. By assuming the full burden of European defense, the United States effectively purchased control over the security decisions of its allies. This security guarantee incentivized European powers to abandon independent military postures, creating a deep dependency that kept the continent aligned with Washington's strategic goals. The moment the United States forces Europe to defend itself, it also grants Europe the total independence to act entirely on its own terms. Within decades, an armed, fully integrated Europe reemerges as an independent global power center, capable of negotiating and contesting international relations on its own. By skipping the bill today to save short-term resources, America may permanently trade away its global dominance, inadvertently engineering the birth of its own greatest geopolitical rival.